Good morning, guys. Okay, today we're going to revisit in the simple cooking series something I did earlier with making biscuits in a skillet. But today we're going to put a spacer in. I'm going to use my Coleman stove. Now this technique will work just as well with anything else, but it's a slow method, and this is one of the things you're going to need to practice for learning how to control your temperature. Okay, if I'm doing this on a campfire, I want coals for this. No flame, no burning wood underneath. I want to rake hot coals underneath it, and I want my pan a couple inches above those coals. Okay, you just learn over time how to hold your hand over it and tell how much. Now in Boy Scouts, a technique that we were taught was this: you hold your hand at whatever given altitude above the coals you're thinking, and you count to 5. If you can reach 5 before you got to move your hand, it's just too hot, I can't stand it, you're below 350 degrees. That seems to be roughly the break point. So if I get up there and I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need to move, it's about to burn me, it's getting too hot. That's about 350. If I get up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's too cool. On the other hand, if I've got a bed of coals and I put my hand about that high over it, and I go up there and go 1, 2, and I got to move my hand, it's way too hot. See, that's a trial and error in learning. The thing here with this cooking this biscuits, this bread, is it needs to be enough heat to proceed the cooking, and yet not so much heat that it burns the bottom before the top has a chance. Now we're going to be using the PATHFINDER skillet, and that seals up fairly well. So it is a small Dutch oven, and it also has a good thick bottom. That's the thing. Don't attempt this in a real thin bottom like a Boy Scout kit or something like that. It's just going to burn, I'm going to tell you right now, because it's got to be a thick bottom. That's the reason people used to, a lot of times they would bake biscuits in a cast iron skillet in an oven. Just slide it in like a baking pan because it did so well. You want it to cook evenly, and so the thicker bottom. So we're going to get this set up in a second and work our way through it. I'm going to be using a spacer from another cook kit, but about 3 inches. Okay, you could take a ring of something else, metal, or a cut off can, or set 3 or 4 cans to hold it up there at the base, whatever. The game is get it up enough that the heat's not so intense. I'm going to turn my stove down fairly low and see if we can make biscuits for you this morning. Here we go. Okay, I've got my stove fired up and I've let it heat up a little. Now I want to go down and turn my heat down low. Not quite off, but low. Something about like that. Cut those pumps. Now, I'm going to take my spreader. It's just something to spread out the heat. This is out of another cooking set. I've used it with my Tringia. Put it over the top of it. I'm going to set my skillet up there. Put the lid off. I'll let my skillet start heating up. I'm going to take my canned biscuits. Later we're going to be doing how to do this with fresh, where you make your own biscuits. But right now we're practicing technique. Now the very center of that pan is going to get too hot, so we want to come around the outer edge of it. Try to evenly space them. Just like that. Now, we set that up there. You'll give it 8 minutes and then we check it. Been about 8 minutes. Oh yeah, they're puffing up nice. Now, we're going to very gently, and we're going to give them just a minute more. They're coming up good, but they're not quite ready to flip. Okay, now it's been 10 minutes. So now, I'm going to take the spatula, and we're going to roll them over. That bottom's already getting a little golden brown. They're puffing up good. Always got to screw up one. Part of the problem, that's part of the project. The good news is you can eat all the evidence. Okay, see, nothing's burning. I'm now going to cover it back up. I'm going to let it go for another 10 minutes. Okay, been 10 minutes on that side. Now let's see what we got. Okay, looking good, looking good. Yeah, this is one of the things you do slow. Puffing right up until they're not quite done in the middle yet, but we're not done yet. All you gotta do is just flip them over one more time. Alright, and finally, that one. Nice and golden. Life's beautiful. Now, yeah, I know in an oven, you'll do it at 425, you'll do it in just a few minutes. But on doing it like this on the camp stove, you do it slow. Slow means I'm not burning. We're learning how to control our temp here. So by doing it this way, I'm doing it nice and slow, and I'll end up with really good biscuits and not have to worry about it so much. Now, how is this a big advantage? Well, let's look at the one pan option. I come in here and I do my biscuits first. My biscuits then are transferred to some aluminum foil over here on the side to keep them semi-warm. Then I dump in eggs and butter and I make buttery eggs. Or I throw in my bacon and fry my bacon. Then I pull my bacon out, dump my eggs in. I got biscuits, bacon, everything out of one pan, just as progression. This takes the longest, and then at the same time, it doesn't have to be piping hot to still be good. So the biscuits rotate, and then I would go to my other meat source or my eggs. I'd cook bacon or whatever next because it takes the longest to cook, and then it can be also just warm. Eggs you want piping hot, so then I'd go to eggs. It's a progression. See, you set up your cooking technique so it's a progression. We'll be back in a minute and we'll see the final product. Okay, it's probably since the beginning I've estimated about 20-25 minutes. Okay, it's been slow but steady, and that's what I wanted. Now, we're now going to turn the heat all the way off. Golden biscuit. Top and bottom, nothing's burned. They're thick, they're puffy, about like they'd be if I'd done them in the stove. They're not stuck. Now let's see about the inside. Yep, they're done in the middle. They're not gooey or anything. They're flaky. Ooh, this thing's hot. And they pull apart. Stove's now turned off. Now if I was going to, I could move this to the side, leave it in this skillet, and put another skillet up there and cook eggs or whatever and keep these warm if I wanted to. But it doesn't hurt them to cool off, you know, a little bit. They're too hot to eat right now anyway. So I'd set them to the side, let them cool, and be ready to go. But like I said, in the meal progression, okay, we started with low and slow, and we created the bread. Okay, now this would be transferred over, wrapped it up in aluminum foil or whatever to keep it clean from bugs or whatever. And now would then go the meat, the bacon, the sausage, whatever. I would cook that. When that is done, that's going to turn my heat up, of course. I would then transfer the meat out, get rid of the excess grease, and immediately go back in with the eggs. Whip up the eggs and have the eggs and butter or eggs and bacon drippings, whatever. Have that ready to go. Of course, coffee's done been made. So then, when I put it on the plate, there's the biscuit, there's the meat that's still warm. The biscuits are still relatively warm, but they've cooled down to where you eat them. And now nice hot eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. It's a progression so that everything's ready at the same time, and they're all warm enough to eat. There's nothing super hot or nothing super cold that needs to be. Okay. I've known people that would go and cook the eggs first and then set them to the side and go to make everything else. Well, whenever they got done, the eggs are dead cold, and eggs don't taste that good cold, and the biscuits are so hot you can't eat them. So you need to progress it. See, hope this gives you some ideas, guys. So, biscuits done in a skillet on a camp stove. This could be done on a Trangia if you spaced it up. This requires practice. This can be done on hot coals on a campfire. It just requires time, effort, and practice. Biscuits are cheap. Start with canned biscuits because they're relatively cheap, and if you screw it up, feed it to the dog. You know what I mean? If you burn the top or bottom, you can always just, especially these flaky ones, you just peel that off. You got a perfectly good piece of bread underneath it. Just get rid of that carbon top. It don't make the whole thing taste burnt. So you just peel off. When you saw me do skillet biscuits before, I did it down low and the top and the bottom burned. Sometimes called army biscuits. And I just peeled the two ends off and ate. No problem. But by doing it slow and gently, you're able to control your heat and you're able to get a good result. Now, could I have made these bigger? Well, this type of biscuit don't puff up that big. It's good layers, but it's normally not very thick. Them great big old huge grands would be too thick to go into that skillet. Pathfinder skillet has enough clearance for these, but if I put them big ones, they'd lift the lid off of it. So I need a deeper pot, a big, what's called a chicken fryer. Is a cast iron top and bottom. It's a deep bottom with a skillet-like top they lock together. You can make biscuits in those. Biscuits are just a mindset of how you do it. Okay. Now, in the future, we're going to go into how to make biscuits from scratch. And I'll give you a recipe for something you can carry easily in the field, where you just add 2 simple components that don't require refrigeration to it, and you've got biscuits in the morning. But that's a little more advanced. We're going to come to that. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. And do me a favor before you leave. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe button to kind of boost my numbers up a little bit. I'd really appreciate it. Till next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.